whenever somebody hear that word detention, they are really actually scared. They don't want to be there. Now, my question is, how do you respond to the belief that healthcare is often neglected in detention in your agency? Because sometimes people fear that, okay, once you get there, it means your health might be deteriorated. They might not take good care of you, might not have access to the right medical attention. So, how will you debunk this allegation?
Detention is not a death sentence. First of all, let me define detention as being in official custody for certain reasons. It could be that the person has been suspected to be involved in drug crime, or the person is undergoing detention, is undergoing investigation.
Okay.
So we bring the person forward to our office. When we bring the person forward, during this process, it is the responsibility of the courts to either declare this person free or to sentence the person. But while we are waiting for the decision of the court, the agency has made it necessary that the basic need of this person is addressed, like provision of adequate food, provision of, if the person comes into detention with inappropriate clothing, we ensure that the person is given appropriate clothing.
In your agency?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the shelter or accommodation, we ensure that it meets human standards. So while in detention, the basic needs are provided, but we even go further and provide medical needs. And this medical, the reason is because detention itself, there is no place like home. So that challenge, that being in detention is already a problem, in the sense that the person's freedom is restricted.
Yeah.
Diet.
To contradict with what you're trying to say, that detention is not there, because you said maybe when the person is in detention, then there are some fundamental rights that are being curtailed, and of course sometimes the type of food the person would love to eat, he can no longer eat it, and of course if probably in terms of medication, you say that you provide them with all these, but don't you think by the time somebody emotion is being you feel that I'm no longer free to do this, don't you think we have a way of leading such person to elevate?
The thing is that while in detention, there may be pre-existing. We try to assess we try to make them accessible
for them,
and then manage the pre-existing health condition.
All right, so now this brings me to my next question, and of course, how do you manage the varied medical needs within your facility? These are the various persons you handle, and I know the last time that one of your colleagues was there, he did say that even ladies are individuals, so definitely it means that you might medical needs within the facility.
That's an interesting question. But I would like to first of all highlight a statistics that is relevant to this our discussion.
This is the staff officer training and manpower development, and the topic is detention is not a death sentence. I want you to throw more light on this issue we're talking about. That detention is not a death sentence. In terms of your NDLA, vis-a-vis whenever you arrest someone, and of course the person is brought to your facility, you as a lab scientist, don't you think only seeing the maybe sometimes people are really afraid of needle. Only seeing it, don't you think they have this phobia that you want to inject something into their body?
No, not at all. Even when a person is in detention, being a detainee, we have already said that they will be treated as human first. So those in detention should not be deprived of their ability to look ahead to the future with hope. They should not be. They will not be deprived of dignity. So those in detention have the right to hope for a better future. They will have the right to be treated as humans. But now, being in detention even have advantages. What are the advantages? That close watch.
Okay.
There have been situations whereby someone comes to our facility, the person is frequently urinating. It becomes a cause for concern. So when this person is subjected to screening, we may begin begin to see symptoms of diabetes.
Okay.
And yes, the person is diabetic. We will start talking about how to manage diabetes while the person is in our facility. And when the person leaves our facility, we try to encourage the person to follow up on the treatment.
Okay.
So being in detention is not those in the rehabilitation center. This counseling session could be one-on-one counseling, whereby the client sits down with the counselor. Because of the privacy in one-on-one counseling session, the client can express himself openly to the counselor, and this will assist the counselor to help the client. Then, not only one-on-one counseling session, we also have group counseling session, whereby all those in rehabilitation council, all of them sit in a round table because they have the same common problem, that is substance abuse. It is expected that since they have the same common problem, they can talk about how they enter the problem together and how they can come out. What have they done so far in order to come out of this problem? So the counseling session, whether it's one-on-one or group counseling session, it is there to help those in rehabilitation to so that they can get better, so that they can be reintegrated back to the society with a greater willingness to be better, to be a better citizen of Nigeria.
Okay, of course, that is coming from ASN 1 Grace Chukweku, and of course, she is in charge of staff officer training and MAPA development, Ndlea, Delta State Command. And of course, the topic remains detention is not a death sentence. A lot of persons are at least skeptical when it comes to detention, but in the Ndlea, the case is actually revised because it tries as much as possible to make you feel at home, give you the right medication when needed, and of course even the right prescription that you need. And according to ASN Grace, they will check on you when you're out of the facility. And that brings me to my next question. And the question is, so far we know that the last time a colleague was here, he said that there was a particular person that is on your custody. She is a pregnant woman, and of course she was caught with drug. And of course my question is, what kind of
pregnancy, we try to provide antenatal care for the pregnant woman. The antenatal care involves health education. It also involves screening. From time to time, we screen the person, like the glucose of the person, the protein level, the BP. We check the BP of the pregnant woman, and we also provide supplements throughout that stage of pregnancy. And if we see danger signs like hypertension in pregnancy, that is pre-eclampsia, if there are danger signs or it is towards delivery, the pregnancy is towards delivery, we refer to this person to more equipped facility to handle this situation. So if someone is in our facility and there is need for more health care, for the person to receive more health care, we make reference to other health facilities that can provide this health care that we cannot provide.
They are well taken care of in your facility. And I want to ask you this question. When you are giving all this care and all this, is it that the person is paying for it, or you are doing it for free for them?
So while in our custody, the agency is the one providing everything needed, both the personnel, the medication, and any other thing till they leave our facility. So the financial cost of their medication and any other health, yes, is on us while they are in our facility.
Okay, you're still watching inside the Ndlea with, and of course the topic is detention is not the death sentence, as we are with and of course our topic for today is detention at death sentence. And of course the Assistant Superintendent of Narcotics 1, Grace Chukweku, has been able to establish that it is not a death sentence in the Ndlea context. I don't know about the other agency, but she's at least speaking for the Ndlea. And of course she has gone further to explain to us how they take care of those under their custody, including The vulnerable persons, either being a pregnant woman or somebody, a special person, that they give them the maximum medical attention needed. And of course, you're still here on the seat, and I believe this question is for you to actually do more justice to.
Exactly. And this can lead to fatalities. So as medical personnel in the facility, it's now my role to treat injuries and also to comfort those who survive such mobile attacks.
Okay, how about the community? What does the community where your facility is situated, what do they stand to benefit from the facility? Do you see members of the community also, do you attend to some of their medical needs with what you have in your facilities?
Yes, we attend to the medical needs because having an enforcement facility in your community shouldn't be a cause for fear. It should be even an added benefit.
Yeah,
so because of the agency's social corporate responsibility, we extend this medical care given to those in our facility. We also extend it to those outside the facility. They can come in and they will be given the health care they deserve. So the medical personnel on ground, they provide care without judgment. They provide care whether you are in uniform or you are not even in uniform. This is to ensure that the relationship between the Ndlea facility and the host community is cordial and friendly.
All right. Of course, to ensure that the relationship is cordial and friendly. And of course, as you were speaking, a scenario is trying to play out in my mind, and I feel that because your being here is to actually enlighten us more about the facility. And I was just asking myself, because you talked about officers going to make arrests, and sometimes they face resistance and sometimes mob action. Now, if the other way around, you brought in a suspect, and of course this suspect is in your custody, and all of a sudden the suspect then passed away, you begin to hear a lot of things that poison the suspect, or the suspect was killed outside law. Now, my question is, how do you handle detainees with chronic diseases such as diabetes, HIV, AIDS, and asthma? How do you handle them, especially with the facilities you have? How do you handle them?
Thank you. As I've mentioned earlier, the agency have mandated that anywhere Ndlea suspect is found, there must be a medical team on ground.
Okay.
So that is a suspect died in custody, it's almost impossible. So we will ensure it is the responsibility of the medical team to ensure that this person receive care. Even when the care how the person has been managing the elevated sugar level, it's our responsibility to continue the care. Okay. So if it is insulin the person was using, we ensure that yes, the insulin is made available. If it is glucophage, we ensure that it is made available. And if the situation becomes critical, we ensure that the person is evacuated from the facility and referred to a more sufficient facility. If the suspect is if we are talking about a suspect that is HIV positive, we ensure that the antiretroviral drug is made available to this suspect. If the suspect is asthmatic, we try to make the suspect as comfortable as possible, and we also provide medication to ease the respiratory, so that while the person is in our facility, we will ensure that the person is comfortable. There will be no crisis while the person is in our facility. And if there are cause for concern, we always make reference. So the medical team is on ground to make sure that there is no casualty. That is why Ndlea as an agency has incorporated healthcare team into every of its formations.
Because the way you're trying to explain this whole thing, it seems as if your facility is home away from home.
There is no place like home.
Okay.
But we try
as
to,
much as possible
yes,
to make it more relaxed.
Yes, make
okay.
everyone within the facility comfortable.
Okay. All right. Of course, before we wrap up. apology for that breaking transmission. We're trying to have some technical glitches. All right, you're welcome back. Before the break, I was asking you that how does the infrastructure community take care or support those that have been released from the facility? Like what you said that sometimes you do follow up. How do you manage this, especially when somebody says that it's not in the facility? Is it that is it the medical team that go for the checkup or the operational team that go for this checkup?
Thank you for the question. So when someone is in a and the person receives the right diagnosis or the right medical attention for the first time, even when the person is ready, we provide health education. Like for example, a person who receives diagnosis of diabetes for the first time in our facility, we encourage the person visit the closest healthcare facility to your home, follow up on the treatment. If you don't, complications of diabetes will set in. For a suspect who receive for the first time, because of the access to medical care for the first time in our facility, we encourage the person to follow up. If you don't continue to take your medication, your BP will continue to rise, and if the BP is not properly managed, complications of hypertension will set in. So even when the person is leaving our facility, we provide health education. If there were medication that they stay, their situation, their condition is assessed again, and then we ensure that the coping skill they need to say no to drug or to reject drug abuse entirely, we ensure that it is given. Those coping skills, those assertive skills, we ensure that they have them. And again, we encourage them to continue to go to the mental health clinic so that those medications you were on, so that they will have access to their doctors to continue to provide care for them. So even if they are ending the 120 days in rehabilitation, they are not ending their treatment. Their treatment may continue, may prolong than the 120 days.
All right, of course, we are here still discussing with ASN, that is Assistant Superintendent of Narcotics 1, Grace Chukweku. She is in charge of Staff Officer Training and MAPA Development, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Delta State Command. And before we wrap up on today's program, what is your message? And of course, for those who believe that detainees don't deserve healthcare or a second chance.
It's nice to be here. I have had a wonderful time. And now, whether somebody is in a facility, that's Ndlea facility, as a suspect or as a client, let us have it in mind that this person is first of all a human. So because this person is a human, don't victimize the person. When somebody have malaria or the person have ulcer, do you victimize the person? No. So why should you victimize somebody who is having a drug problem? So don't see detention as a punishment. It is not a punishment. We want to correct somebody who is having drug problem. When I mean drug problem, either the person is selling drugs or using drugs. So the problem has been identified
right here or inside the Ndlea, the program that has been designed to showcase the activities of National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Delta State Command. And of course, our topic today was detention, if not a death sentence. And so far so good. Our guest here has been able to establish that in the Ndlea, they treat everyone accordingly, be you a drug user or a drug dealer. But the bottom line is they want to, as much as possible, to eradicate the use of illicit drugs. So whenever you see someone that was arrested by the Ndlea coming back to your area looking fat and but don't think that they maltreated him, or her. They gave the person the right treatment. And of course, indeed, detention is not a death sentence, but it's a correctional place where people go in and come back.
inaugurated the More ICT Year program at the Delta State Innovation Hub, Asaba. This program is a government-backed initiative aimed at equipping youth with essential digital skills.
For this Delta State, more agenda, future for opportunities for all.
Yes,
Register Delta State
Governor Sharif's administration is committing to delivering impactful governance that will improve the lives of persons. Take a look at the inauguration of the Vegetable Mixed Modern Markets, which was inaugurated some days ago.
The newly inaugurated Goji or mixed modern market, which includes a modern artifact, is crucial towards improving economic activities and also stimulating innovation.
And because Governor Sharif is dedicated to providing sustainable infrastructure, he has also encouraged that the facilities be given timely maintenance.
Always concerned about the present. Opportunities for all. So partnership is not comfortable to design or academic curriculum to technical skills necessary to become job and work fields.
I'm not surprised. Just some days ago, the Delta State Ministry of Science and Technology inaugurated the More ICT Year program at the Delta State Innovation Hub, Asaba. This program is a government-backed initiative aimed at equipping youth with essential digital skills.
For this Delta State, more agenda, future for opportunities for all. Register Delta State
Governor Sharif's administration is committing to delivering impactful governance that will improve the lives of persons. Take a look at the inauguration of the Vegetable Mixed Modern Markets, which was inaugurated some days ago.
The newly inaugurated Goji or mixed modern market, which includes a modern artifact, is crucial towards improving economic activities and also stimulating innovation.
And because Governor Sharif is
I am Mora. Rwanda has said will accept up to 250 migrants from the United States in a deal administration. Rwanda has given workforce training, health care, and accommodation to jumpstart their lives in Rwanda. She noted the condition of the agreement was that Rwanda would have the ability to approve each individual proposed for resettlements. The White House had not commented on the deal, but told newsmen that it was that ex-President Mr. Joe Biden had allowed to infiltrate the United States. The United States Department has said citizens from Malawi and Zambia are to pay $15,000 deposit for a tourist or business visa. According to a statement by the State Department, the 12-month pilot program aimed to curb visa overstays or where screening and vetting information was considered deficient. Officials say that citizens of countries other than Malawi and Zambia might also need to pay a similar deposit, which would be returned at the end of their visit to the U.S. The U.S. administration had taken several steps to further President Donald Trump's agenda to stem illegal immigration. President Trump signed an executive order on the first day of his second term to that effect. The Texas governor, Mr. Greg Abbott, has said he is taking legal action to remove from office dozens of Democrats who have fled the state to block a plan to redraw electoral boundaries. He filed a lawsuit with the Texas Supreme Court seeking to fire Democratic legislator Mr. Jane Wu, whom he called the ringleader of a plot to hijack state government. While the filing focused on Mr. Wu, Mr. Abbott, in a statement, said the departure of more than 50 Democrats would constitute abandonment of their office, justifying their removal. The redrawn congressional map would create 5 more Republican-leaning seats in the U.S. House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., where Republicans hold a slim majority. Over 100 people are missing and at least 1 dead after a cloudburst triggered devastating flash floods in the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand. Rescue operations were underway in Uttarakhand district after a massive wave of water surged down the mountains into Dralai village, submerging roads and buildings in its parts. Some Amit